Hey, welcome back. In this part, we're going to do painting. So get the thing primed and painted, and we're probably going to use a lot of paint. So spoiler alert. Hey guys, welcome back. Richie here from RW Hobbies, and as I mentioned, we're going to do the painting. So here she is. Remember from last week, all I've done since then is I'd master canopy. Well, I took away center seam line, a little bit gnarly, but sanded that away. Master canopy, put it on, and then sprayed the canopy, the inside color. So that's obviously a clear part. So from the inside, you can see the first thing you put down. And that was, so in this case, I put down the MRP light gold gray for the cockpit color, and then when we put primer on over the top, you're not going to see that. Whereas if I put primer on first, you can see the primer through the clear. Does that make sense? So first thing you do is paint the canopy, which I did, the gray color. Now we're ready for primer. So what we're going to do with this guy, so we can first prime it black, as always. We're going to come back with white and break it all up and do a pre-shading effect. Then we're going to paint light ghost gray on the whole underside. Then on the upper side, we're going to do dark ghost gray. And then the scheme we're doing is Shaddowhawks. So it's going to be black tails and black spine. So then we're going to mask up the center here, the spine, and paint that black. We won't use pure black, we'll use like a rubber black. Because in model making, you should never really use pure blacks or whites, especially for larger areas. It looks too stark, so you could knock it off a shade or two. So rubber black has a nice kind of hue to it. So we'll probably do rubber black for the center. And then finally, probably mask up and paint the avionics bays, that kind of stuff. So a lot of work ahead of us. It's going to take a few days to get all this down. We'll be using lacquer paints, so we'll dry quickly, but still don't want to rush it. And there's a lot of area to cover here. It's going to take a lot of paint and a lot of time to airbrush this. So first thing I'm going to do is actually grab some foam and stick it down the intakes here, just to protect the fan blades and stuff. So when we spray, we don't spray all down there. So a couple of bits of foam, or cotton balls or whatever you have down here, these guys, and then get going with priming. So I'm going to go ahead and prime as always with Mr. Sursa 1500 black. Now I mix this 50-50 with lacquer thinner. This time I'm using rapid thinner from Guns, and that dries almost instantly. So lacquer thinner, self-leveling thinner, any kind of lacquer thinner is fine, modeling related, mix with this stuff, and it kind of micro fills. So any small scratches and stuff you have too, it'll fill those gaps and create a nice smooth coat. One thing I should mention too is, in case I forget later, between each paint coat, I'll come back with a this is a soft sanding sponge, and just sand, especially from the primer, if we put the main coat on, and sand it all back, and that will create a nice smooth finish to put the next coat on top. And also, if I sand a little bit more rougher, we can create, we'll talk about it when we get there, but we can create some really cool effects where we can rub through the paint and create some weathering and that kind of stuff. So we'll be using the sponge too. So yeah, I've got a big boy to get going on, so I'm going to go ahead and get in the spray booth and start painting this. I'll probably do it in stages, because again, it's such a big area to cover, and we'll come back once it's black. Hey, so back for a quick update. So done that part, used a lot of paint and took a while to spray all that. To that first, I'm going to do the front section, and then once that's dry, I'll do the underside. So kind of break it into sections, make it a little bit easier. This might be a good candidate for a rallo can, because it's so much area to cover. But yeah, it went down beautifully, no problem at all. There's a few little scratches and stuff here I need to fix, which is ideal by doing sections, because now I can just sand it back and fix it, and then when I come back to spray the front, I can just spray that bit too. But back here, this area, remember we had those kind of issues and stuff. See where I filled it and took care of it. It looks perfect. No problems at all back there, which is great. So yeah, so going down nicely. So I'm going to continue doing this. One thing too is, you should always do this anyway, but even though I have an air booth behind me, a spray booth behind me, I always, you should always wear a mask as well, just both. But the fact that you're spraying so much lacquer paint to cover this, doesn't definitely have to need a spray of this as well. Otherwise it'll be super high, I think. So just a lot of paint going down, and obviously to the size of it. But it's very important to have one of these, plus your extractor booth going as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and carry on painting this guy up, and we'll be back once it's done. All right, so we're primed and looking good. So in this whole build, I think everything's primed now. I've got through almost pretty much one whole big jar of this, about $6. So obviously bigger the model, the more you use on paints and stuff, but at the end of the day, if I bought a rattle can at a hardware store, whatever, I'm paying $6, or a Tamiya rattle can TS spray, maybe more than that, expensive than that even. So got through about one big jar. I'm not sure exactly how much is in here, probably maybe 30 mil-ish. But I said I've done everything. So I've done the tails, or you know what, I've not done the stabilizers yet, the horizontal stabilizers, but I've done all the fuel tanks, all the jamming pods, the cockpit. Obviously everything's been sprayed pretty much other than those two stabilizers, but there we are, looking really good. And obviously it's just a prime coat, and next up we can come back with the white. This time I'm going to use Tamiya XF2. And I'm just going to be really messy, and you've seen me do this a million times before. I'm going to create a shadow coat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray it in between all these panels just really quickly, like literally this whole top fuselage will probably take me about 45 seconds. Not going to take much time at all because you want it messy, so I'm just going to go spray all around it, break all this up, and it's going to look, by the time we're done, it's going to look more grey than black. And I'll create a really nice base coat for the other colors. Now, this works good for grays and light colors. When it comes to like blacks and dark colors, you're not going to see it because it's just going to cover the whole thing. So in that case, you do it the opposite way around. I'll do post shading rather than pre shading. So instead of doing it before my paint, I'll do it after my paint. So I'll lighten or darken the paint color and do it that way, because with black and stuff, again, it's just going to wipe this out. You're not going to see it in the pre shading. But in terms of what we're doing here with the light ghost gray and dark ghost gray, it will definitely work good. It works really good in light ghost gray too. But cool, yeah, I don't worry about these avionics bays and stuff. I'm gonna spray everything, and then at the very end, one of the last things we do, we'll tape it up and we'll paint the avionics bays, pretty hand painted. And there we go. So yeah, let me go back to the booth. I'll really quickly spray this again, 45 seconds tops, probably for the whole top. Just really quick, spray it all over, and then once that's dry, flip it over and do it at the other side. What I'll do is for the wheel wells, you'll see when I come back, because they're going to be white, I'll spray all these white right now, and then we'll mask them off before we spray the grey, which will be the next step, which will probably be tomorrow now. But anyway, let me go ahead and spray the white, and be right back. All right, so we're done. Underside, still a little bit wet, and the upper side, which is dry. So you can see I just messy, just spray it all over randomly, and it really breaks up that black and gives you a nice pre-shading effect. Very random, more natural looking. Kind of, you can do black basing, or you can do, some people draw lines on and stuff, but I just like this. It's the easiest way of doing it. It's my kind of armor method. So that's how it looks. Now I did exaggerate a little bit. I said 45 seconds. I think it took like 5 minutes on the top, and then clean the airbrush out like another 5 minutes. So like 10 minutes to the top side, and a little bit less to the bottom, which is still a little bit wet. But as you can see, I did spray a little bit more into the wheel wells, and because they're obviously gonna be white, but not hose it on, so you can still see how the black shows through. So it creates like a natural kind of grimy effect, which is why I love using the black primer. So I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit. It's a little bit rough. So again, with my very smooth, my sponge here, I'm just gonna sand it down back a little bit, just to create a nice smooth coat for the paint. And what we're gonna do is once it's fully dry, we're gonna put some foam in and mask up the gear bays, and I'm going to then mask up the intakes a little bit nicer, because there needs to be a nice distinguishable line in there between the grey and the white. So I'm going to mask it up a little bit better, and yeah, we're going to be ready to go with paint. So I'm going to leave this overnight. I'll be back tomorrow, and with power editing, I'll be back in like 2 seconds. All right, so I've been painting this morning. This is how we're getting on. Still a bit little wet on top, so I just want to let it dry a little bit. But the light ghost grey on the bottom, no problem at all. See how I masked up the intakes, a little foam, sorry, the wheel wells as well, the foam, and just a little bit tape for the diagonal parts, and up here too, to cover the white. So we sprayed the light ghost grey on the bottom, dark ghost grey on the top, and you can see this kind of hornet here, it's not a straight line, it has like kind of like a bulge. So to mask it, I just use Clever Putty, which I love using for camo. People hate it, I don't know why, but I love this stuff. Get it from Amazon, and I think it's like $10, $15, and it self-levels. The key with this is don't leave it on overnight. Leave it on for like 5 minutes, and once you're done, peel it right off immediately. Otherwise it self-levels and moves around and stuff. But you see it's right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'll peel off in a minute, and then it will leave. I'll actually do it right now while we talk. It comes right off like that, and then see how you have left with like the bulge kind of thing design. Mask off the front, but obviously on this one we're going to do the black spine. So yeah, so I'm going to put it down because I don't keep holding it. But again, nice thin coat, so you can see that pre-shading coming through. See, it's all broken up. Obviously didn't paint the spine again because we're going to paint that black on the front here. If you're using a normal scheme, the 2 greys, then this front here where I masked and the whole spine obviously be the same color, but I just didn't bother wasting paint on that one. So let me kind of put this down real quick. Put my Clever Putty away, and run through the colors. So Actually, I never showed you the color chart, did I? So this is what we're going for. My bad, I should have showed us at the very beginning. So we've done the two grays, up and lower. Now we're going to do a black spine. I did do the tails already using rubber black. And I don't use pure black, it's going to look weird. You go slightly off like rubber black or NATO black. So that's just pure black, pure rubber black. And I might come back and do some post shading a little bit, just kind of break it up a little bit. But what I'll do is I'll wait till I paint the spine, obviously, and then do all the black parts at once. So again, that's the scheme, looking very beautiful. You can do along this one, which I was talking about, which is the usual grays. But I like the black to kind of make it stand out a little bit. So color-wise, I went with, for the underside light ghost gray, I used Mr. Color 308, which is a lacquer paint. No problem at all. Didn't use much of this paint actually, to be honest with you. Maybe like quarter of a jar for the whole underside, because I did very thin coat, because we obviously have that gray kind of looking primer and shadow coat, so I didn't need much to cover it. Just really just light dusting over it, just to leave some of that pre-shading going on, so you can see it, not hose it on. So a little bit of this guy. If I had MRP, I'd probably use that one instead, but I had that one. This is a lot cheaper. So the upper side I used dark ghost gray, and I do have MRP for that one. So typically with aircraft, you use a lot more light than you do dark. So that's why I've got one that's left, and I'm using these guys. So this is lacquer painted too. This is MRP 97. The two I'm using, the dark ghost gray, and this stuff's beautiful. It's kind of pricey though. So this is pre-thinned, and this is what, like $6-7, whereas this is like $2.50, and you can thin it out. So probably, I don't know, probably maybe 30 mil thinned, and this is 10 mil, so about 15. So yeah, about a jar and a half of these is about the same as one of these. So what, like $4 compared to $6 or whatever. But this is beautiful spray. This went down beautifully too, lacquer paints, but these are two main colors. And then rubber black, you can use any Tamiya XF 65. I don't have LP 65, so again, I'm sticking with lacquers. And it's the LP 65 rubber black, but any rubber black would work really, obviously. And there you go. And then I think a lot of time I'll mention is when I look at a lot of videos online, people painting stuff, especially early on when you're a beginner, you're always trying to emulate people's colors and like buy the same colors and stuff to get, that's exactly what I did, but I end up with like huge color ranges, and you don't need that. Like, I mean, if it's rubber black, it's rubber black. You don't need to run out and buy an LP65 if you have an XF65, right? Or any a Vallejo rubber black, or whatever rubber black you use, just use a rubber black. A light ghost gray, dark ghost gray, just the main colors. You don't need to use exactly the same ones I'm using. Like, it's gonna be the same shade, right? Just a different type of paint. So that's it. So we're looking really good. So I'm gonna let this top dry. It's MRP, so it dries pretty much instantly, 5-10 minutes. It's been about 15 minutes probably. So I'm gonna let it sit for about an hour, and then maybe 2 hours, just be safe. And I'll mask up the top and then just paint the black down the spine, which should be no problem at all. Well, I jinxed it now. All right, be back in a minute. Okay, so we've painted the black, looking pretty good. So I painted first with the rubber black, as I talked about. Then I kind of want to break it up a little bit, so I came back with NATO black, and it's too close. To the eye and the light, it didn't really make much difference. So then I tried mixing a little bit gray with the black. Again, it wasn't really much different. So I remember seeing online somebody painted eggplant like SU-35, and they used like dark eagle grays to kind of break it up, and it looked really good. So I thought, why not? So I got those colors in stock, the attackers. So what I did, basically, very little bit of these, like a drop. I basically mottled in some of the darker, which is, I believe, the eagle gray, which is FS 36176 or Attacker 158. And then the very high points, it's kind of nice to just catch it in the light. Like normally it's black, but just in the light you can just see it clear. Just the very high points, again, a drop for the whole thing. Aggressor gray, FS 36251, which is Attacker 157. And so I made it just a really dark gray. So the black doesn't work, so I went with a very dark gray and sprayed it, and it's looking good. So if you look at it straight out, like the light, you can probably see how it's like different shades and stuff if I reflect it. But when it's sat there, you can't really notice it unless the light catches it, which is exactly the look the look I was going for. So see, that's not just a solid black. So some people might look at these instructions and just get like XF1 or whatever it is, the flat black, and just spray black down. Don't do that. Do like I say, do a rubber black as a base, and then like I did, come back with the grays. And I'm just gonna I put these on for overspray. So let's see how we're looking live and real. Now, I let this like an hour. This is MRP paint, like an hour, and I've masked on like with pretty heavy duty masking tape, and there's no issues at all here. And again, the people who say you can't put lacquers over acrylics, well, guess what? We put the white base coat was acrylic, and we put lacquer over, no problem at all. So you can see here, I just masked. This is pretty easy. Just masked with a Tamiya tape, the 6mm tape, I think it was. Just masked down the spine, and just use I use this tape from Home Depot. It's like $2 for backfilling. I don't use it for edges, just backfill for overspray. So just taking these off right now. I'm gonna see how we're gonna look. Again, live reveal. And I want to save some of these tape because I'm tight, so I got some other areas on the mask. So that is looking good that side. Now, the other thing, don't skimp on masking tape. If you spend $150 on a kit, don't get like the cheapest tape possible. Like buy them Tamiya tape for like $1.50. I mean, it's worth it. I mean, it does a great job. We've got a little bit of overspray back there, but not a big deal. Pick that off, and finally this guy. Actually looking really good. So there, looking good, right? And again, you can see the light, how it's all kind of broken up. It's not solid black now. A little bit of overspray from tape right there. Just easy fix for me. I'll just get some more of the MLP and just spray that in. A little bit of overspray there too. But other than that, it's looking good. So that's the jet. I mean, pretty smart, right? And then obviously you can see why now we did the tail separately. Way easy to paint. And then the tails will go on. Gives you kind of overall look of the aircraft. So I'm going to spray these areas, touch up a little bit, and then what else I got? A little bit of overspray at the front here. See that there? Not a problem at all. I might use the sand off with a sponge. So we've still got paint left over. So we've got to paint the rings at the back here. We've got to paint, and then we're going to mask up and paint the avionics base. So I'm going to paint the base color. I'm not sure. I'm going to look at my book to see what the base color is, and then all the boxes and stuff we'll hand paint later on. And that's it, pretty much done. So looking good. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to touch up a few areas. Again, we can actually take the foam out now. We don't worry about the wheel wells. I'm not going to touch the underneath again. And might need my tweezers for that actually. So now I take the foam out, you'll be able to see. Got masking tape on here. See the wheel well. Simple, right? So that's how we're looking. So again, really happy how it definitely got the pre-shading coming through. Definitely looks a little bit worn and a good base for our weathering. So I'm going to go ahead and touch those bits up, and we'll come back and pretty much wrap up here. So morning, I'm back for day number 3 on this. So this painting experience is a lot of fun, but obviously with painting it takes some time, masking, drying, all that kind of stuff. So 3rd day on this, and we're done. So the avionics bays, masked up the outer side, and according to my reference material, it's a black frame, so painted it black, and then masked up the black with like an inner square, or rectangle I guess, and sprayed white for the inside. So I still need to hand paint all the boxes and the cables and stuff, but that's the main bulk color going down on both sides, so no problem there. Masked up and painted white up from there where the refueling probe goes, and a little bit white in the front too where the radar goes. So a lot of masking work going on here. So yeah, you might see it's looking a little glossy because we gave it all a clear coat of LP9. Gloss clear, ready in preparation for, well, to protect the paintwork mainly, but also then for our decals and our panel line wash and stuff, we need a nice clear coat. So I did use about at least 2/3 of a jar of this. A lot of clear coat. And did spill a little bit on the back, but it looked like evaporated and self-leveled, so no problem at all. As always, I'm a little bit lazy and I don't put the top of my coloring cup on my airbrush, so occasionally, some might drip out, and most often not, it does go on the model, which is not good, I guess. But I'm really happy how it's looking. Hopefully you can see the light there. I'm turning around, you can see different shades and stuff, and the black isn't obviously pure black, it's nicely faded back to matches the whole exterior of the aircraft. Did the aerials, the tails too. Did give them an extra coat of clear on the outer side because those huge Shaddowhawk decals go down. I just want to make sure we have a nice surface for them to work on. So putting that on there, it's going to look something like this, which is going to look really cool, I think. So yeah, really happy with this one. It's been a lot of work, but we're getting there. And as you know, we've done a lot of sub-assemblies already. So I'm glad we've done all the jamming pods, all the hard missiles and stuff, all the gear. We've done that. So that's at this stage, I'm glad we don't have to start it. So we do have to gear doors and that kind of thing, but nothing major. But yeah, looking really good. So here she is one last time. as always, thank you for watching. I'll be back next week and we'll put the decals on, and then we'll be ready to start weathering this guy up. But yeah, have a great week and I'll see you next time. Bye.